All right, y'all. Welcome to All for the Culture. We're here again. It's a little bit of a different episode today. We don't got a rapper in the building. We got a high school, middle school buddy of mine. He's out here doing some stuff for Hurricane Harvey here in Houston and doing a lot of other type of rescue and charity work and stuff like that. And I wanted to talk to him today, get to know his story, get to know what he's doing because I feel it's important to Houston and Texas and everywhere actually because he's helping Puerto Rico and things like that. We got a man named Taylor Fontenot in the building. How's it going, man? How you doing today?
Going good, man. Going good.
So let me ask you, man. First, what's the name of the organization that you started?
Organization is crisisreliefteam.org.
Crisis Relief Team.
Yeah, we focus on relief, recovery, and the rescue part of natural disasters.
So how did you get this idea to start this?
Man, a month ago I was a bartender. I put out a post on Nextdoor, that little app for neighborhoods, looking for someone with a boat, raft, anything I can go out and kind of help out with. Went out that first night of Harvey with a John boat with no motor, a body harness for football, towing that thing through the water with my body, and a kayak, and we just started responding to the calls.
So, but like, in that moment, what did you see? What happened that made you want to get involved, that made you just have to get up and help people?
I can't even tell you. It was kind of a hard time in my life. It might have, helping these other people might have saved my life, but it was just one of those things that my normal hurricane routine was, hey, let's go have a party, something like that, and just seeing it just made me kind of, maybe I can do something different this time. I got a kid on the way, so it's one of those things, let me build some good karma for my kid, and let me get out there, help some people, hopefully that'll come back.
Congratulations. Congratulations. You hear that a lot. It's kind of funny with rappers nowadays. Is like a lot of times you'd be like, so why did you start taking your career seriously? You'd be like, oh, I had a child. It's kind of similar what you're saying, but in a different way. I feel like, would you feel like maybe having your son being about to be in the world, you're thinking more from a grown standpoint, a more grown standpoint, a more mature standpoint?
Honestly, yeah. Like the second I found out I was having a kid, like my narcissistic tendencies, everything went out the door, and it became about how can I do better for my child to have a better life before it even gets here.
Okay. And so, with Hurricane Harvey, when you started out and you started seeing everything, what do you feel like was the worst thing that happened, or what do you feel like the worst damage was, and what do you feel like Houston and the government could have done differently?
It's all different, man. Like you go down to Rockport, Corpus Christi, Port Aransas, and it's wind damage. Tornadoes touching down. That's the hurricane. The wind just, home's gone. Then you come to Houston, and it's the rain. It was all flooding, and then you get in these areas like in Memorial where I'm sitting there running boats, and the reservoirs are failing. They're leaking it back into these neighborhoods. These people don't want to leave because they think that, oh, this is rainwater and it's going to go away. It hasn't rained in 2 days. The water's still rising. This is now the reservoir. They didn't get that. But then you get situations like Port Arthur, and that's where my family's at.
Oh, they were bad.
That's on the comms, and you just hear these people, I'm trapped in my attic, the water's up to my knees. 5 minutes later, I'm trapped in my attic, the water's up to my chest. There was no 5 minutes later.
Damn.
So you know. That was one of those things, like my family's from Port Arthur. I was freaking out. I was ready to go. Sunday to about Thursday of Harvey, most anybody in my crew slept was probably 6 hours. If we weren't driving to the next spot, we were wasted chest deep in water.
Yeah. People hear 6 hours and think that's a lot, but you got to understand what you're doing before that 6 hours is a lot of tiring work. So it's like
5 days we slept 6 hours total.
Oh shit. Okay. Wow. Okay, wow. Because I was about to say, even 6 hours a night is still fucking crazy.
That would have been heaven.
After what you're doing, it's fucking, it's a lot to do. But damn. So, how did your family make out during Hurricane Harvey and the Port Arthur thing?
Family was a little. They were elevated. I did have one great aunt that was 94 with Alzheimer's, and she was found chest deep in her house in water. But luckily, I had crews there. They were in Beaumont. Coast Guard actually pulled us out of the water at 1:30 in the morning when it hit because everything was so bad.
Wow.
Let us back in at 6:30. I had 3 boats waiting. They raced there, and they got my aunt. And so
That's crazy.
I'm kind of thankful for that.
One thing I always wondered about in hurricanes, our house got destroyed in 2008 in Ike. 16 walls came down. The roof fell on my grandmother, right? But there was no flooding per se. And what I always wonder when people have flooding is like, how are you just like, so they're just stuck like swimming in water basically, like in their house they're just swimming and waiting for somebody.
Yep.
There's nowhere they can go sometimes. I mean,
That's
there's
all it
addicts
is.
sometimes, but sometimes
I mean,
no.
a lot of it's, you got pets, you got elderly, you got people with medical conditions.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, what would I do on dialysis and shit like that?
Yeah, I had
I'm
those
just
calls.
thinking,
These people are on dialysis, they have no power, their generator's going to fail in 30 minutes, they have 30 minutes of fuel left. And the closest boat you have is 45 minutes away because of traffic. I mean, it might be 10 miles, but to get that 10 miles, all the roads are blocked, so you got to hit Grand Parkway, or West Park, hit Grand Parkway, come up I-10, it's a 50-minute journey there. After loading up the boats, relaunching the boat to get to the house, so you're just praying that there's a little more gas than they think in that generator.
damn, that's crazy because like you sit and you think, and it's like I was thinking like I was stressing like fuck my dialysis nurse is not gonna be able to make it to my house, and it was like 3 days, and I'm stressing, but that's nothing compared to like what other people have to do when they don't have the machine, the generator's down, everything's like the power's gone, and then another thing is like we call the hospital, and the hospital's like we're only one doing people with high potassium because that affects your heart,
Yeah.
and then two is like a 10-hour wait. My cousin's a doctor. He's like, can y'all rush him? They're like, we're not doing any doctor rushes or anything like that. It's everybody wait the same amount of time. I was like, oh, I'm not waiting that long. I'm gonna just wait till this guy comes. And luckily he made it. And then every other time that there's been a hurricane, I've luckily had my transplant. Thank God. Like any other time that a hurricane messed up our house, I wasn't on dialysis. And so this was the first time, but it was scary. But I imagine like what I would go through, even just being in like if this whole thing was filled with water and I had to swim, within like 30 minutes my legs would be freaking tired as shit. Like, cause you gotta hold yourself up.
It's not like that though. You got to think of this water coming in. Not only this water coming in at high rates, it's the water coming out too. So we call it swift water.
Yeah.
The currents in these neighborhoods, it's almost like river rapids, and you're just looking. It's just an intersection of a suburban neighborhood.
Yeah, and then if they have medical problems, their immune system's probably fucked up. It has all this disease in the water, all this shit in the water.
That water, man.
I know.
Especially out in East Texas. I went out there to going to Beaumont to do animal rescues because kind of the search and rescue had died down about a week into it.
Yeah.
I get a call like, hey, National Guard's asking you by name. You want to go help them recover bodies in Port Arthur? So I talked to my crew. I had about 112 boats. When I got there, about 13. So I told them, this is going to be, you're either ready for this or you're not. You need to look at it if you are ready, that you're going to give these families closure. These people have been in the water for a week. There's bloating. There's animals feeding. It's just one of the things you had to be ready for. And getting there, and after being in that water for a short amount of time, they didn't let us go do the National Guard recovery because the water was so bad. It was 180% over contamination levels.
So they wouldn't let you go get the dead bodies out of the water.
They wouldn't let us do that because they wanted us to go in. If we went in, and our protection was like a Tarvec painting suit with duct tape around and shopping bags on our feet.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. So I took off from there, went to go do some animal rescues in this little tiny neighborhood that had about 50 animals in it. I could have knocked out an hour, but they wouldn't let me in. Wouldn't tell me why. Get in that water. Long story short, I get into it with the EOC there, and coming back into Houston, I'm out in Baytown. They call me, hey, you need to turn around and go do a decontamination shower in Viter. They need to decontaminate your vehicle. They need to decontaminate you. Any clothes you have need to be thrown away. So the water was bad. Very, very bad.
I mean, I'm just thinking like open wounds.
Oh, all over my legs from being in Houston.
That's crazy. That's insane. So, what at this point in time now, being the end of September, what's left to do? What needs to be done? What's still the problem?
And Houston,
there's obviously no more flooding anywhere, right?
That's the thing, though. It's Houston. I did Houston. Right when Houston was done, I took off to Florida. I did Irma. And it's the same thing with these organizations. The Red Cross is a joke. FEMA is a joke. We get there, here, they take care of Houston. They took care of Key West there. And so once that's done, everything's okay. Rockport's still destroyed. Corpus Christi's still destroyed.
They just fixed the big city.
Yeah. Viter, there's still people living under tarps in their yards without clean water or food. They lost their house. They lost their vehicle. They can't go and get supplies. I mean, it's Beaumont, Port Arthur, Viter, Orange, all those lower economic areas. And then once you get into the Keys, Key West is fine. It's about the lower 10 miles of the Keys. Next 60 miles is just complete devastation. That was way worse than Houston.
Yeah,
But that was strict hurricane damage where houses are no longer there. If they are there, they're destroyed.
Yeah.
And then you get in these areas, and it's just, who's going to help them? Red Cross is there. FEMA's there. They're dropping pallets in these fields, but that's all they're doing. They're putting on a show. And then you have these private donations coming in. Like, I didn't do the supply side or the relief side in Houston. I did strictly search and rescue. By that time Irma had hit, took off to do search and rescue in Florida. And by the time I get there, it was a straight hurricane, so it was a supply need. And then we have these 2 truckloads from a company in Connecticut called Wheeling. They pull in, and we get a call, hey, FEMA turned them away, Red Cross turned them away, the government turned them away. They cannot accept these private donations because 10 years ago they signed a contract saying that with all these companies that your water comes from us, your canned goods come from us, your cleaning supplies come from us, your dry goods come from us. So they can't accept these civilian donations.
Okay.
We say, all right, you know what, fuck you. We're at a Hyatt right down the street sleeping in our trucks in the lobby floor and the parking lot floor. Bring them here. We'll unload them by hand if we have to.
Damn.
So got the Coast Guard next door, a marina across the street, brought over some forklifts. We unloaded 80-something pallets of goods and then just gave them out. And it just trickled down from there. Every truck that came in that got turned away, go to these guys.
Are the private donations what are really doing it?
Yeah.
Really helping?
The private donations are what are doing everything. Red Cross, there's just so much red tape involved in all of this.
Why? Why is there red tape? Is this too much politics?
It's a chain of command. I'm in Houston, National Guard's sitting there in these trucks with 8-foot tires, and I'm on comms and just hearing there's 300 people at this Walgreens a mile and a half away. Like, the water's already 4 feet deep, about 100 feet in front of you, and they're holding kids over their heads. Their water's rising. They're gonna die, and they have to wait there for an hour for orders to be able to drive these big ass trucks and pick up about 50 people at a time. They had 7 trucks lined up. That's enough for everything.
And they just had to wait.
They just had to wait. We didn't though. We dropped boats in, go, bring back 8, go, bring back 8.
They don't try to stop you or anything?
No.
From doing it? Okay.
About a weekend, we got a bunch of friction, but at that time, they know that it was needed.
Okay, so what I want to ask you is, for someone out there who's looking at this and wants to do this, I hear a lot of you saying, like, we got a call, we got this. And a lot of people wondering is, like, how do you make those connections? How do you get these people to, and how do you get your name in the know-how so that if there is a rescue attempt or something, somebody, you get that call, like, hey, go here, or do this, or we need this, and you're in the mix?
There's a walkie-talkie app called Zello. I got on it about the second day in. It's kind of got out that, and then the Cajun Navy shows up that night, like, hey, I heard you've been putting in some damage to this neighborhood. You know, we got about 500 people today. Like, okay, well, come with us. Next night, it hits Port Arthur, and they just kind of let me know, hey, you're in charge now. Like, I've never done this before, man, but I'll see what I can do. I get on all those channels from all these organizations on the Zello app. I had 12 boats. Go to Wharton for a call, shoot back. We're in Memorial City Mall. I had a meeting with HPD, meeting with constables on the phone, and then I was kind of put out calls on all these channels. Next thing I know, the parking lot's filled with boats and guys. I had about 300-400 guys.
Yeah.
All just looking to help out of their own pocket.
Yeah. Listening to you, it sounds like you were saying, like, you know, I've never done this before, but it sounds like the only requirement is you got to care about people. You got to really want to do it. You got to really want to be invested in it. Yeah. And then you just got to have a little bit of sense and a little bit of know-how. And, I mean, you should be, you know, I think the most thing is that you actually care and you actually want to do it, because I think that's when you're going to get the numbers that you're getting of, you know, 500 people or, you know, however many ever you were able to save in neighborhoods. I think, you know, that's the will. But, so what's the story with Puerto Rico? I heard that you were having some issues there and you're still trying to get in the country and stuff like that.
I got teams on the ground right now in Puerto Rico. Right when we were kind of finishing up with Irma, relief-wise, it became recovery, third step, and a couple people tarped the roofs. I mean, it's low-income area. A couple people tarped the roofs, cut their trees down. We had a guy in a wheelchair that the only way into his house was this one handicap ramp, debris 3 feet high everywhere else by his other one. So my guys went out there, chopped this 3 foot wide palm in half, get it off, take the other ramp, makeshift it together, and now this guy's back in his home.
Damn.
It's one of those things that it really helps to do it. And these are the guys I have in Puerto Rico right now. That's the only reason I feel comfortable with it, because there's no infrastructure in Puerto Rico right now.
Yeah.
They are there, and it's one of those things that I don't know if they're going to make it back. We can't get flights back. I would be there right now, but I go to Kuwait Friday. and I'll be back Tuesday.
What are you doing, Quaid?
Bringing back some veteran war dogs.
Okay.
They're retired from the military now, bomb dogs, that type of thing.
Okay.
And just bringing them back to kind of give them a chance at life. And
that's part of this charity thing?
No, this is another charity I worked with. The second day of Harvey, I actually rescued this woman that does this for a living and brought her and her 4 war dogs to Gallery Furniture to get shelter.
So, with the Puerto Rico thing, I read something about Donald Trump stopping supplies or something. I didn't really all the way. Is he not letting people in to rescue people? What is he doing exactly that's blocking stuff?
It's a disorganization thing. Like in the Keys, once the kind of system was down, you could fly planes in with supplies into these privately owned airstrips, and it's no big qualm. With Puerto Rico, we were getting planes in, and then now that they're getting a little bit of comms up and everything, it's getting harder to get them in. And then Donald Trump, he did release the ship ban, which basically that now any country can send a ship of supplies into Puerto Rico. Before it's a U.S. territory, therefore it's only an American ship and or something that's been previously through the bureaucratic paperwork approved. But now he's basically saying that they're on their own. They should know better. They should have been prepared. They can help themselves. We shouldn't have to help them. And to me, that's bullshit, because seeing what the American government's done and all these natural disasters, it's a dog and pony show. They want to give you a little sleight of hand, like, oh, death toll's not this bad in Key West, death toll's not this bad in Houston, but we're going to wait off on releasing the real numbers, wait till something else happens, so you're looking over here, and then we'll release it. No one will really pay any mind to it.
Yeah, it's Donald Trump, if I start to talk about him, I will turn into an angry man and start cursing the fuck out of this shit, because he pisses me off, and I don't understand how Puerto Rico, being a part of the United States, pretty much being United States territory, cannot get what is needed and get the help that is needed. It's just ridiculous. And it's just like we hold Americans that live here at a higher life value than other people, which I don't, to me,
that's only a certain type of American when it comes to the government.
Yeah.
I try to stay out of politics, but
shit, I'm sorry.
No, good.
I apologize.
When it comes to Trump, it shouldn't be if they're American citizens or not. It's their people. What does it matter? That's one thing about Houston, which is the beauty of Houston. All the propaganda, all the mainstream media, sorry to call it, but race war bullshit, went out the window. It was people helping people, and that's the way it should be. There's an article put out, I think in the New York Times, that Houston, during that natural disaster, should be the model for the rest of the country to operate on. And it shouldn't take a natural disaster for that to be the case. Yeah,
exactly. It shouldn't. It should just be automatic, and that's what America was at one point in time. And that's that whole newsroom speech in that show when he says America's not great anymore. I don't know if you ever saw that, but that show, The Newsroom, where they ask him what makes America great, and he just doesn't want to answer, and then suddenly he just goes off and says, America's not the greatest country in the world, and he explains why. What's the dude's name? The dude who was in Dumb and Dumber.
The Newsroom, with Jeff Daniels.
Yeah, Jeff Daniels, yeah.
That's one of the most honest things you can do, man, because the shitty thing about this is it took natural disasters to bring out the best in people. People just helping people putting their lives on the line. There's people that boats capsized in Port Arthur that I never got confirmation if they came back or not, because by then so much had happened that getting back and checking on that near impossible, because I didn't know where it came from. But then it also brings out the worst in people, because we had boats in Greenspoint, 45 and Tidwell, that are going out there to save people that their homes are under 8 feet of water, one-story homes where they have nowhere to go with kids, and they're getting shot on. They're getting held up.
Robbed, shot up, yeah. And that was the same thing that happened in Katrina. I remember reading a story about there were some African American people that were trying to get through a neighborhood that was all like white old people, and literally they started shooting at them like buckshot, like shotguns and shit, and like would not let them come through, and that was literally the only way they could go through. And so that was just it does bring out the worst and the best in people, and you saw a lot of celebrities and things, people do things, but what I'm wondering is, 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road, who's gonna be there? I mean, is that when it dies down and the thing, like what happens in 6 months, in 4, 5, 6 months?
Usually there would still be a little bit of focus and relief, but you didn't just have Harvey, now you have Irma. So military, all these organizations are having to split their time between that. Now we have Puerto Rico. Then we have another one coming across right now that is projected to be stronger than Irma, which you just have to hope doesn't come into either of these areas because
Oh, I
they're
didn't know
already
there was another
done.
one. Wow.
Yeah. We're halfway through hurricane season. We've already had more confirmed hurricanes this year than a halfway point than any other year.
Yeah, I know. So that's what I was going to ask you. Like, the rescue operations that you've been doing have probably been like any other operations of any other natural disasters like this because it's never happened so consecutively, one after the other, so quickly.
A little bit, yeah, but you also it's different in the way that these are just the flooding in Texas versus the wind damage in Florida was completely different because Texas, I was constantly in the water, constantly just pulling people with everybody else with. And then you get to Florida, and we're sitting there making 200-mile runs of supplies to Key West because they have the roads blocked, and the only way to get there is by water without hitting the police barricade and getting turned around.
Damn. But why are they not letting you go through? Don't they know that people need the supplies and stuff like that? Or is it just too dangerous for you to go through?
At that point in time, it was way more dangerous for me to go by boat in the Keys on a John boat. But
that's what I'm thinking.
200-mile trip was worth it because we got to some people. But then they wouldn't let us through the roads at that point in time because there's power lines on the roads. There's trees all over the roads. So until they got the roads clear, then they let people in. But then once you get in, they start blocking every entrance to every neighborhood. And we had EOC clearance at that time. I pull into this neighborhood where it's somebody just posted something on Facebook. Somehow it got back to me for the screenshot. I go check on her parents. I get there, and they're on their last can of food, last gallon of water. And just basically tell me, like, yeah, we thought everyone forgot about us. Our car got taken away by the storm.
Damn.
Our house is this. We don't have power. We don't have cell phones, so we don't have electricity to charge them. We have nothing. I unload everything I have on them. Like, hold on a second. I'm going to get you a generator.
Yeah.
So I go back to one of my depots, grab a generator, grab them some more food, grab some dog food, grab some stuff for the wildlife there because there's a big key deer.
Okay.
They killed a key deer, but they were just, you can tell they're all still just panicking and just this deer's on the ground just shaking. It's like, wait, he needs to eat, he needs clean water, and then grab some more gallons of water. Start going back in the neighborhood like, hey, bud, come back, just going to drop some more stuff off. You're not allowed in here.
Wow.
Like, you know why I'm here. I told you on my way out, hey, I found them, this is the situation. They're on their last this and that. I'm bringing them a generator so they have some form of electricity. You're not allowed. You need to turn around or you'll be arrested. Okay. So I went and dropped it off at the church, gave them the address, and just hoped that they'd bring it there.
Oh, wow. So this was in Florida where the wind damage was, but it wasn't flooding. They were just out of power, out of food.
This happened in Texas, too.
Yeah.
Going to that neighborhood to rescue those animals in Beaumont. I had a game warden say, hey, it's cool. Next thing I know, launch the boat. Black Hawk comes over. Game warden's hauling ass down. It's like, hey, I had orders. You're a game warden, man. Who gives you orders? You have the highest authority of any police officer in Texas. Like, who's giving you orders?
Yeah.
Takes me here, takes me there. It's like, okay. And then get all the word, and next thing I know, I'm getting ran out of the county by the EOC just for trying to get in the water and save some people, save some animals.
Damn.
It's a liability issue, though, so I kind of get it.
Okay. So, you recently had the Ellen show called Ellen DeGeneres, right? So, let's talk about that. What was that like, and why? What did they see, or what did they take notice to that made them call you?
It's something they're doing called 1 Million Acts of Kindness with them and Cheerios. It was just a link that was up, and saw my guys kind of hurting. Everybody's either lost their job. I had to resign from mine to keep doing this, or they just have to go home because they've ran out of money. It's like, okay, $10,000 for a person that's done something in the community that's worthwhile. I was in the Keys. I just kind of saw the link on Facebook. I was like, all right, let's see what happens. Next thing I know, I get a call right when I get back into Houston from driving back. Tired. I'm just thinking, okay, who's calling me, prank calling me? See, it's Burbank, California. It's like, hey, can you Skype? Like, nah, I can't do it right now. I'm watching football. I was out in Houston. And then she's like, hey, do you have an iPhone? Can you FaceTime? I was like, oh, yeah, let's FaceTime. FaceTime for like 30 minutes and just question after question about everything that's happening. It's kind of eye-opening, I guess, because being on the West Coast, they didn't really know how bad it was here.
Okay. That's cool. So you said it's the random acts of kindness? Is that what you said?
1 Million Acts of Kindness. I think of what the hashtag is for it. But yeah, it's just
there's another foundation called RAKE, Random Acts of Kindness.
I think I've heard that one.
Okay, so that's cool. So are you don't know if you're going to be on the show or what you're going to be doing or stuff like that?
Well, with Puerto Rico going on and Kuwait going on, I kind of told them that my time is very limited right now, and I don't know if that would be a possibility.
Wow.
So, Kind of getting this stuff done is more important than that.
Well, I mean, that's dope. That's dope because most people would think that, you know, you would jump at that opportunity, but it just goes to show how serious you're taking this and how it's something more important than getting on famous or getting a look. You know, a lot of people are helping out now because it's a cool thing to do on Instagram. It's a cool thing to do right now. And so that's why I worry about 4 and 5 and 6 months down the road. And that's why I told All for the Culture, I told my staff, I said, look, let's volunteer now. But they were sending people home. Like, they had too many volunteers. I was like, give it a couple months and let's go back again. And then we'll go back a couple months around Christmas. Just keep going back every couple months, because after a while is when it's died down. But people at that point are busy rebuilding their houses and busy rebuilding the neighborhoods. And that's what I wanted to ask you is, are a lot of people going to run into problems of not having flood insurance, not being able to fix their house back up?
Anywhere you are in a flood zone in Texas, you can't get flood insurance as is. If you weren't in a flood zone, especially in the areas that did flood, it hasn't flooded there in 30 years, so people just cancel it.
Yeah,
So all these people out of pocket. All these people out of pocket, man, and they're either having to start over, or they lost their home, they still owe money on their home, so now they're in debt and have no equity to back it. And it's just one of those things that it's an all-around shitty situation for everyone involved, except for these companies that are going to end up profiting off of it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, man. I you know, I had a property over on Beach Nut, and it flooded about a year ago, right after I fixed it up to flip it, and it flooded right then, and I just the only way to, you know, break even on my investment was to take it and to rent it out, or at least to own type thing. So I bought flood insurance. So this time when the hurricane hit, I was okay, I was safe. But I had heard a lot of people were messed up, and the only reason why, and this is for anybody, y'all make sure y'all listen to this, right? My dad, his roof got fucked up, and because he had the insurance for the roof, he was able to get the whole house done when the hurricane hit in 2008.
Damn.
But because now if you don't have roof damage, then it's going to be difficult. But if you have roof damage from there was a tornado or a hurricane, tornado or winds, you can get insurance money. And so he was able to finesse that into fixing up the house and adding a kitchen to the back of the house for no money. Like he built a kitchen outside near in his backyard for free from that insurance money. So y'all a lot of people, y'all may not have flood insurance, and y'all may know what you have and know what goes along with it, because you can finesse into something bigger. You can finesse it into more money. You can do a lot of things. So make sure you know what's going on out there. But so what's next for you? What you got? What's next as far as for your charity? What's the plans? What's the things you got doing coming up?
Really, the name of the game is get a warehouse, get supplies loaded in it, get trailers to where something like this happens again, and it's gonna happen again, that we can just hook up, go, get all 3 phases, get the rescue done, get the relief done, get supplies into people's hands, and start helping them rebuild. And it's going to take a little time, take a lot of effort, but I think it's something that's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
When there's not a crisis going on, when there's not a natural disaster, we'll be focusing on other things like getting toys into the kids at the hands that lost everything in Harvey.
So, you plan to, buy trucks and, when you're preparing for, say, the next natural disaster that will eventually happen, we don't know when, but, so, are you planning on, getting the trucks, getting an office or a warehouse where you can store things all the time, and just having, basically it completely set up where you have an infrastructure in the business as far as the charity?
What I want, my goal is all donations, all monetary goes into straight supplies, goes right into people's hands.
Okay.
Everything else, I just want to build relationships with companies that can provide. And so that way, everything that comes in is going directly into people's hands, and then everything that we have from an infrastructure standpoint is built on the relationships with these companies.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't want to take away getting a warehouse, getting all that space, and all that, just to not be able to give more out. Because it's more valuable in people's hands than it is building our charity.
Yes, no, of course, yeah. Okay, that's dope. I mean, anything. Yeah, so man, anything, we could do it all for the culture. Just let us know. We would love to help out. We did some stuff at the beginning, and then we're gonna go back and forth and do stuff. But anything you need, anything we can donate, anything once down the line you need an investment, let me know. I'd love to help out any way I can. Who did you start this with? Just your friends, just people that you knew, or was it like?
Every step of the way, it's been complete strangers. When
Wow,
I went out
really?
that first day, 2 dudes I never met before. Second day, some dude from San Antonio shows up at my doorstep, and he was with me till the last day in Key West. And then as I'm driving to Houston, he's on a plane to Puerto Rico with 15 minutes notice with a backpack of supplies.
Damn, and it's
Yeah.
like, so y'all have to leave y'all's jobs for this. Like, y'all have to just dedicate every second to this. Because it seems like y'all get calls and y'all just got to go and be gone.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
There is no time to spare.
Yeah, like when I called you for the interview, you were like, I might have to go to Puerto Rico suddenly. And I'm like, that's going to be kind of weird just to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, they call you and go. But that's crazy, man. That's crazy. And you know what, y'all don't know this man, but it's a big change if you know this man, because he used to know how to party. But man, so what? Any last things you want the people to know? How can they donate to your thing? How can they help you and your people out and helping save people and rescue people? And,
Honestly, man, right now, like, I don't want anything monetary while everything's still going on. If you want to help me out, lessen the load, go find a family that's in need. Go find a shelter that you can donate to. Go to the BARC facility at NRG Arena. Go to BARC. Go to Houston SPCA. ASPCA has a shelter out in Katy that these animals need food. They need people, just something as simple as just walking these animals. Give them a little sense of home. Because these are all animals that they weren't just strays. They were in people's homes that people, hey, you're going to be gone for a day or two. Okay, let me leave a little food and water. Oh, well, your home's flooded. You're not going to be back for 2 weeks. So then we go in, get the animals out, and now they don't have a family or anything. And these families can't go pick them up because they don't have transportation anymore to go get them. They don't have a house to take them back to. And so, I mean, help the animals, help the people. Find a family that is in need. Provide Thanksgiving to a family. Take a family in. Just, with everything going on, anything to lessen our load, any volunteer that's helping's load, just take a little off our plate. Help somebody.
I think a lot of what I'm hearing you say too is also, guys, don't forget about the emotional part of it. Like you said, Thanksgiving. It's not necessarily gonna help them with their current situation, but it actually will by emotionally taking them out of that situation for however long, giving them a sense of normalcy, giving them a sense of routine, and things like that. And then again, getting a good meal, because a lot of these people are stuck eating Burger King, McDonald's, or worse than that even. So, let's all keep that in mind. And I think that, it was good to have Taylor on the show today to remind us how important it is to be out there helping people. I mean, you just were, I guess, watching this on TV and decided to do something. Am I right? Is that how it came about, just seeing it on TV? And
that was day one, and then social media too, but day 2, that Zello app, and you just hear these people calling out, and the despair in their voice is like one of those things that it was haunting. Like that first
I can
night
imagine,
sleep.
I can imagine it just being something where you can't relax. You get that call, and because I know for me, for business, when I get calls, and I'm talking about business, this is like people's lives, so I can imagine like hearing it and just being like, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, just trying to get it done as all fast as possible because you understand the dangers. But what could Houston as a city have done different, the government have done different? Like, what did you see out there as the mistakes that we can fix next time?
Houston could have evacuated. I mean, it's funny that there was that thing going around about there was a city council meeting behind closed doors. They're projecting 51 inches of rain. They come out and say that, there was no such meeting, but 52 inches of rain in Houston. They're still pulling out rain gauges out in East Texas. They pull one out of Groves Airport, 64 inches of rain.
Wow.
If they would have evacuated and they go back to Rita.
That's how many feet? Like 5.5? 5,
60,
2?
yeah, 5.5.
Yeah, 5.5. Yeah.
But they go back to Rita's, we evacuated everybody, nothing happened. Who cares? It boosted the economy in other cities. People went to Austin, people went to San Antonio. It became a little vacation for some people. But at the same time, if they would have evacuated people, this wouldn't have been such an issue.
Were they worried about that the highways would be filled with people and that might make it worse?
Even with that being the case, people still would have gotten out. Everybody that wanted to get out would have gotten out.
Okay. Yeah, I don't understand why they would do that if everybody would have gotten out. I can understand if they were afraid that people would get stuck. But if not, then, I mean, I don't understand, because it's like, yeah, okay, nothing happened in Rita, but, I mean, is it worth it to take a chance? I mean, I understand it's not your life or your mother's life, but it's someone's mother's life. It's someone's life that's important to somebody. And I feel like we forget that nowadays. We look at someone and we don't realize that, hey, while he's not anybody to me, he's somebody to somebody.
Exactly.
He's something to somebody. He's a relationship to somebody. Okay. Wow, that's crazy. You know, I think this is the first interview I've had where I've thought so much in my head while I'm listening to someone. Just thinking about, like, I think about, like, me and how difficult it would have been for me, right? Because I can walk, but not far, like, you know, to the door and maybe a little bit more. Push it and get maybe to the elevator at max. But it's like, then what am I going to do? And then imagine water everywhere. Then, like, and my wheelchair goes away, or you know, shit floats away. I mean, it's just insane to think about, because I know me personally, the minute I step on a wet floor, I'm slipping. Like, it's done. Forget it. And then swimming is one of the most, like, it's one of the best exercises for me, but it's one of the most tiring things. And I'm in a pool. I can imagine, like, current and, like, all this shit just, like, coming through it. Because obviously I'm not the only one in my situation, right? There's millions of people on dialysis. I mean, fuck the wheelchair for right now, but millions of people on dialysis. It's like, wow, like, I know catheters, how easy they get infected, access sites. You might not have your you might lose your medicines, like, and those medicines are life. You don't take those for 3-4 days, you're going to be in the hospital damn near about to die. That's insane. That's insane. I mean, so as far as the hospitals, did y'all ever have to go in there? Did y'all ever have to do things and stuff like that? And then what about those people, like, if the hospital loses power or things like that, what are they doing with those people?
The two experiences I've had with hospitals, when we were in Beaumont, we get a call over comms that Beaumont Hospital is now out of food and water. Red Cross and FEMA are telling them that it's going to be 2 days because, you know, paperwork. Cajun Navy had a plane landing at Beaumont Airport in about 30 minutes, and they just kind of said, hey, you know what, y'all can have it. Take it all. And then Puerto Rico, I'm sure if you watch kind of the Facebook videos, the news isn't covering it, that they had a hospital, the generators gave out, and 2 people on life support died.
Yeah.
I had a team in Tampa that had 100 generators, loaded them on a plane, and then that plane was taken from them and ended up in Puerto Rico, but those generators never made it to the hospital.
Yeah. So one thing I think a lot of people, and especially I do wonder this, and I think a lot of people wonder, is charity organizations like FEMA and Red Cross and stuff like this, right? You hear a lot of rumors and bad reputation about the money's not going to the right places, the money's not being handled properly. So as a charity, even on that level, what's the proper way to function, and how does a charity make money to continue to operate? Not donate, but operate in itself and pay it. I mean, not everybody's volunteering, right? There are some paid employees in a charity.
There has to be.
So how do you manage that if when you're doing it the right way?
In a charity, all that is determined upon by the board. The board makes all the decisions. The board is not paid employees. Luckily, I have people on my board that have 10-year experience on other nonprofit boards.
Okay.
And I have a company everything's getting filed through that has had a 100% success rate with over 15,000 nonprofits. And I'm going about, I want to do everything the right way, because I know that if you don't, something can go wrong, then this happens again, and there's people I can't help. But then you go to organizations like the Red Cross, everyone says, oh, well, Haiti's a black eye for the Red Cross. They'll recover from it. They got $60 million in donations and built less than 10 houses and then pulled out. That's not a black eye. That is who Red Cross is. That is exactly who they are. So these smaller organizations that are trying to help as many people as possible with the limited resources they have are the ones that need help. I believe in myself and that I can source everything as time comes. And so anyone looking to help at this point right now, I say find someone else like myself.
Okay.
Help them. Because you help them, they'll help me later on, they'll help everybody, and it'll be better. I will figure out my way, but right now just help whoever you can.
Okay, and so like Red Cross and stuff, you hear about like these employees getting paid ridiculous sums of money, and the CEO. That's the thing. That's the money issue, is that they're not giving the money out to where it needs to go. They're actually paying their employees exorbitant amounts of money.
Well, President of the Red Cross makes $645,000 a year.
Yeah.
But then you look at, they do have expenses. They advertise a lot. There's a lot of printing into that, because when natural disaster happens, they throw everything out there to get their name out there. And then there's a lot of operational cost into throwing on this dog and pony show that is showing up, making this big presence known, not really doing anything or doing much, and then pulling out and going to the next show. So, I mean, it costs money to do that, but that money could be better spent and better used just getting shit in people's hands. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's basically like using it for a promotion. That's so shitty. But I don't want to say happy, but I am a little bit pleased with how they caught a bad rap this time and everybody was tearing them apart. Because it's about damn time, you know, because I've been hearing this now for a long, long time about the Red Cross. I mean, before Haiti, you heard it about them. I mean, this wasn't the first time you heard things about Red Cross and FEMA. I mean, you heard FEMA dating back all the way to Katrina and shit like that, you know, so you heard FEMA then not doing what they were supposed to do, so it's just a shit show. Tell everybody, man, where they can find your information at, where they can find anything they need to know about what you're doing and what's going on and how to help.
Crisisreliefteam.org. We're across the board, crisis relief team. We're getting everything built and kind of get everything set up. And then from there, we hope to really do some great things. You can always find me on Facebook. This guy has my number. If you need immediate assistance, you know anyone that needs something, needs a Thanksgiving meal, needs a Christmas meal, just needs someone to go by and tell them it's going to be okay. We got people all over Houston. We got people in Florida now. We got people in Cuba. Just let us know what we can do. We don't know what to do without people kind of directing us. So as long as people ask, we'll sit there and do the best we can to answer the call.
All right. If there's anything y'all need me to let him know, y'all tell me. I'll get it to him. I see this guy all the time. I talk to him all the time. It's no big deal. Y'all can check us out at www.all4theculture.com. You can check us out at All for the Culture Show on Instagram, and you can check us out at Hip Hop Handicap on Instagram and Twitter. And we'll see you guys next time, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. This was a little bit different. No rapper today, but I felt like this was an important thing that needed to be talked about and needed to be showcased, especially, you know, the show being from Houston, Texas. So y'all stay tuned, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks, man.